The Intel Arc B580 is one of the most favorite cards in the market right now, but it is almost impossible to get, and today we may have found an answer.
This right here is the Onix Intel Arc B580. No, not the Onix Pokemon, the Onix graphics card manufacturer, and I'm excited to see if this is actually worth buying on the new market if you're looking for B580 after a word from today's sponsor.
Listen, building a gaming PC is only part of the process. Once you finish planning your perfect gaming PC build to get the best price performance, you need to make sure to install and activate Windows 11 with today's video sponsor, gvgmall. If you guys have been watching us for a while now, you know gvgmall is our go-to way to save money on activating Windows. You know, getting the best price performance you can out of your gaming PC. It is super simple to get a Windows key from gvgmall. Use our link in the description down below to find the Windows 11 key. Use code TB20 on checkout to save even more money, upping your price to performance game. Then you'll get a copy of the key sent straight to you. Take that key, throw it into a Windows 11 PC of your choice during the install process or after the install is done, and boom, you now have an activated Windows 11 with access of all the features it has to offer. Guys, friends don't let friends run unactivated Windows. Don't build the perfect gaming PC only to leave your PC unactivated. Use our link down below and use code TB20 on checkout and you'll save some money on your Windows activation. Big thanks again to gvgmall for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to the video, shall we?
So while Jackson is unboxing this graphics card, and we're just going to talk about the, B580 in general, I'm going to talk about Onix as a company. Onix is a new company that was founded in December of 2024, is based out of Hong Kong, which is actually affiliated with the company Sapphire, which you've known for graphics cards for 20 plus years at this point. We don't really know yet though if they are associated directly with Sapphire or the company that owns Sapphire and another company because, well, we don't know the direct relation, but we know they are owned by a well-known company in Sapphire. The thing is about this card is it's a all-white card, the Lumi line, which is what Onix is trying to promote as all-white aesthetics here. The goal for them is to create really good-looking cards, and also it's really cool to see other manufacturers in the space where there's a major shortage right now of B580s.
So all that comes in the box actually is literally the graphics card and the sticker. I guess that's all you need for this graphics card, but yeah, I was saying to Matt earlier, it's pretty cool because there's not a lot of companies that are willing to make white graphics cards or parts in general, honestly. And a lot of times, whenever the companies do make the white cards or motherboards, they charge a lot more because it's from companies like ASRock, and it's, you know, people consider them to be higher end. So it's kind of cool to see a little bit more of a budget brand making good-looking white cards.
Yeah, it's actually pretty solid. Again, with this lineup, the Lumi line, they want to do RGB. And one thing to mention as well is using the link down below. It's a fill link and it will help us out. This card was sitting on Newegg for about 3 days in stock at $269, which is incredible for the B580. At the time of recording this video, it is out of stock now, but it is one of those things where you might have seen this, you've been hesitant to buy because you've never heard of Onix. Well, today's video will test it for you guys, and when that does come back in stock, you can pick this up comfortably if it's worth recommending.
Yeah, and I mean, it's other than like the white card and the different branding, it's just a B580 it looks like. So we got a 8-pin for power, which this thing does just sip on power, which is pretty cool. This is interesting, ARGB out. I noticed too, like when you actually look inside here, it's a really basic card. I mean, it's a really small board. You can kind of see it even better from this angle. So that's pretty interesting, but these are what, a Gen 4x16 card. Yeah. So you got your full PCIe 16. You do have 4 display outs, which I think is pretty standard for this card. I think it's 3 DisplayPort and 1 HDMI.
Nice.
And it's basically a little bit larger than a 2-lane card.
Yeah, nice and thick. But in today's video, what we're going to do is our typical GPU benchmark video where we throw it on our test bench, which we'll have Jackson talk about the specs here in just a second, and see if there's any like major flaws, temperatures, noise, any weird abnormalities when it comes to performance numbers. But if everything is good, then this might be an option you should consider when you are looking on the market for a B580, because we know it can definitely be a hunt. Let's talk about that test bench and then dive into some testing.
To go over the specs of the test bench, we have the Ryzen 7 7700X that is an 8-core 16 thread with a large tower cooler cooling it. We also have 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM at 6000 megahertz in dual channel. This test bench is packed with storage as well with a 4 terabyte Lexar Gen 4 NVMe SSD. We have an Asus ROG Strix B650 Wi-Fi motherboard. We have a 1200 watt 80 plus gold fully modular power supply, all inside of a pretty high airflow full ATX case. So now that we've talked about our test bench, we're going to pair this B580 with it, and then we're going to see what it can actually do in games.
Alright guys, now that we've unboxed and taken a look at this Onix Lumi Intel Arc B580, let's go ahead and throw it in our test bench and talk about some benchmarks. The games we decided to test are as follows. We have Black Myth Wukong, Monster Hunter Wilds, Cyberpunk, Spiderman 2, Warzone, and Fortnite. Now all these games will be tested at 1440p. 1080p is good for the B580, but I think where it shines the most is 1440p. While it will struggle in some areas, as you'll see in some of the benchmarks, I think 1440p makes a whole lot of sense for this card with this 12 gigs of VRAM. And also it's a good way for us to really max out this GPU to make sure we're getting the maximum performance out of it and really stressing it to its limits. And speaking of stressing it to its limits, let's start things off with Black Myth Wukong at 1440p high settings using Intel's upscaling but no ray tracing. We only got an average of 48 FPS, a max of 56, a minimum of 20. Now this is on par for the Intel Arb B580 at 1440p high settings in a game like Black Myth Wukong, which is the most demanding game on the market right now, so it's kind of expected to see these results. Honestly, 1080p high makes the most sense for the B580 in a game like this, or you're going to need to run 1440p medium settings with some aggressive upscaling to get a really good 60 plus FPS experience, and you're probably going to be resulting in things like frame gen if you are running 1440p with this GPU. But this is a good starting point to show you guys what this specific Onix model can do. In terms of initial temperatures, we're hitting below 60 degrees Celsius in a room that is 69 degrees Fahrenheit ambient, so keep that in mind. And in terms of noise, there is no noise that is noticeable. This won't be very scientific in terms of the exact noise levels, but when I'm doing the benchmarks, I don't hear the GPU fans revving up super loud, and for me, that's all I really need to know in terms of noise for a graphics card. So far, so very good with this Onix Lumi graphics card. Next up is the Monster Hunter Wilds benchmark tool that you can actually download free today to see how your PC performs. Running 1440p high settings with no upscaling, we ended up with an average of 55 FPS with a score of 18,869. This is a game that is very demanding and eats up a ton of RAM, but you get close to a 60 FPS average, albeit in certain scenes of this benchmark, it does get down to 30 FPS, so that average is not exactly perfect to take a look at, but it does show you that you could run 1440p lower settings in the latest and greatest titles with this GPU while maintaining really solid temperatures with the specific Onix model in question and get good playable results. But if I was playing this game, this would definitely be a 1080p high settings game for the B580 in my opinion. Next up is Cyberpunk, 1440p high settings with no upscaling, got an average of 72 FPS, a minimum of 63, a max of 85. Once again, really good benchmark results for 1440p. 1440p 60 is really where the B580 shines, and once we turn on ray tracing, you should be able to get around 60 FPS still on these details. Once again, temperature is very solid. GPU was not noticeable in terms of the fan noise, so far so good with this graphics card. The biggest thing is finding this GPU at 269. I wouldn't pay more than 269 for this card, especially with the reference cards. If you can find a reference card, you can pick one of those up instead, but 269 seems like a very fair price for this GPU, and the aesthetics are on point. Next up is Spiderman 2, 1440p high settings, once again with no upscaling. We got a 60 to 70 FPS average. Again, 1440p 60 FPS, very solid in a game like Spider-Man, and I will say this game is using a lot of that VRAM. Almost 12 gigs of it is being utilized, so it is definitely something you should keep in mind running 1440p higher settings with a GPU like this. Next up is Call of Duty Warzone, 1440p balanced settings with no upscaling, and I will say, interesting results, 70 to 80 FPS. I really don't think the B580 is the problem here, but this is a little bit lower than I was expecting. I don't know if Call of Duty Warzone has had a major update recently. Not many people are playing the game anyways, so you know. But anyways, the performance wasn't as good as I thought it would be, but running a more aggressive upscaling profile with like Intel XeSS would probably help you out a little bit here, but still, I was hoping for a little more performance, but it wasn't too bad, 70 to 80 FPS. And lastly, we decided to test Fortnite OG 1440p performance settings, and we got 144 plus FPS. Always got to give a disclaimer for Fortnite here. It is a very CPU bound game, but it does still use a lot of the GPU. As you see right here, the percentage is almost at 100% still with the B580, so GPU does matter still, even running at these settings. So what's my conclusion of the Onix Lumi B580? If you can find it in stock, and that's the big thing, if this card is consistently in stock or you find one pop up on Newegg real quick, pick one up. I really have no complaints about this graphics card. Now, will we have some long-term issues with this GPU compared to other manufacturers? We really won't know, but in the short run, in terms of getting the graphics card, making sure it works, and making sure it is what it says it is and performs the way it should be for an Intel card, I can definitely give it a seal of approval. So if you guys want to buy one of these cards yourself, check the link in the description down below, be an affiliate, and it will help us out. Let us know what you think of the B580 in the comments down below, and we're gonna go ahead and mess around with the RGB a little bit, show you guys what that RGB header looks like, and then we're gonna wrap up this video and tell you more about the B580, especially this Onix card that seems to be a good value for the money.
All right, guys, we just got done benchmarking the B580 from a new-to-the-market company, and so far from our testing, the temperatures and the performance perform just like a B580.
If you guys didn't see that coming, surprise, it's great. But in terms of everything else, when it comes to the RGB, I mentioned at the end of my voiceover with all the benchmarks that we were gonna mess with that RGB header to figure out how to customize it. And well, after messing with plugging in a RGB header to a hub and trying to show different ways to actually use it, it wasn't working right. So we were like, okay, what's going on here? Did a quick Google search and saw a Reddit forum where 4 days ago at the time of recording this video, someone was going back and forth about trying to figure out how to get the ARGB to work. And supposedly you have to wait for a software that is not out yet. The estimated date is March, and we were talking off camera. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense because the ARGB should just work when you're running it straight to a motherboard because it shouldn't need any software to prevent it from overriding, but the software might be needed to turn off an override mode to allow you to use ARGB, which if that's the case is a bit frustrating, but you know what? The performance is still there. If you can get it and you're okay with the RGB mode, that's fine, but just don't buy this if you're wanting to customize it for a very particular build because, well, you just can't right now. So all in all, good card. If you guys want to do some deal hunting for this card yourself and you're just desperate for a B580 and you find one of these in stock, I can definitely give it a seal of approval in terms of the performance department, but yeah, let us know if that RGB is a deal breaker in the comments down below.
But we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you check out our other 2 YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/ToastyBros, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Now this ARC card is destined for one more Toasty Bros video, but after that, it will be for sale on a PC Bros PC for a great price.
PCBros.tag, we sell gaming PCs we feature here on the channel at great prices, and you can use code ToastyBros on checkout. You'll save 3% on your next purchase. See you guys later. Goodbye.